for the period remaining between now and the day for the general election, that is Tuesday next week, and also the period while Kenyans will be awaiting for the results, and the period immediately thereafter, depending on the course things take after the announcement of results. Before I give the brief, I'm also very proud to say, after a lot of analysis since independence, that today being the fourth day away from the general election since independence, this is the most peaceful period. We have not had this kind of atmosphere and environment just 4 days to the election. And I must appreciate Kenyans and appreciate all the political players for conducting themselves with utmost care and respect for each other during the campaign period that, as you know, comes to an end at 6 p.m. on Saturday. The preparations for this general election from the security sector started about 1.5 years ago, because we were aware that this election will involve a lot of players. So you are aware there are 6 elections with very many seats across the country, from the MCA to the presidential, and therefore the demand for security we projected would be very high. And therefore we put ourselves together as security players way ahead of time. We formed a multi-agency approach 1.5 years ago, as composed of the National Police Service, the National Administration, and other players in the security sector, to just look at scenarios and situations and prepare for them. And I am happy to report that in the fullness of time, we have been able to even carry out training, which we had invited all of you at the Humanitarian Peace Support School in Embakasi, where we simulated a number of situations in a riot situation, just in case that happens. And during the training, we brought together a lot of players, simulated worst-case scenarios, and prepared ourselves for them. As a result of the training, which had brought together the leadership of the security in the counties, we have been able to cascade that down, and therefore in every county we have a joint multi-agency security operation center, which has one command and which is ready to handle the worst case scenario in case of eruption and breakdown of law and order in this country. This we are doing not because we suspect there will be a breakdown of law and order, but just like good people would do, prepare for the worst case scenario, and if you have a better one, then it's good for all of us. And that training now is behind us, and the deployment to the counties has already been done, and the county teams themselves have cascaded the multi-agency approach of training down all the way to the lowest unit of our security players. In the course of time, we have been able to meet a lot of stakeholders to just explain to them and look them in the face and tell them that we are ready. We have had meetings with KEPSA. We had meetings with the diplomatic corps. We had had meetings with the religious leaders. We have had meetings with political parties. We have had meetings with IEBC, who we are doing everything possible to support. We have had meetings with international observers and also our local ones, media owners, the Media Editors Guild, and across the country. You have seen our Cabinet Secretary address Kenyans from the counties, just to reassure them that we are ready and able to handle any security situation that may arise. As we do this, we are very aware that our role as the security players is, first of all, to keep law and order in the country during the remaining period and the period during which the election voting will be taking place, and the election immediately after. And our role, we understand it very well, besides keeping law and order, is also to support the IEBC to be able to conduct a credible, free and fair election. And in this connection, we have had meetings with the IEBC so that they are able to tell us the areas that they need our support, so that they are able to give us their mapping across the country in the polling centers, and so that they can tell us the kind of support they will need even as they distribute both strategic and non-strategic materials, a process that has been going on. And therefore, they have given us their schedules. They have given us their requirements in all polling stations, in all polling centers in the country, and we have been able to deploy and draw our operation orders appropriately. And we hope by Sunday, every resource, human resource, every police officer, every support that is needed from the security sector will be in place. Some of it has already started moving. I need to explain that because of the number of polling stations that we have in this country, according to the IEBC, the polling stations are in the neighborhood of 42,000, and each one of them needs special attention. They have made a request of in excess of 150,000 now officers to man the process. And as a security sector, we have been able to identify these resources both from the National Police Service. We have been able to identify this resource from the National Youth Service, been able to identify this resource from the Kenya Forest Service. We've been also able to identify this from Kenya Wildlife Service. And the IG has therefore prepared to appoint those people who are not police officers as special police officers for that period, so that they can be able to assist where the numbers that are required are not available within the police service. And the reason we are doing this is because on 8th, the rest of the country that is not election areas will also need security. And therefore, we cannot deploy all the police officers to the polling stations and leave the rest of the country bare. I also need to say that as far as election is concerned, our work is to support the IEBC. And it is important for us to comment on what is expected of us within the voting area. As you are aware, the centers have already been gazetted and are known. And IEBC has gone further to define the radius within which they will call polling center, which is 400 meters, radius of 400 meters. How voters conduct themselves, who is supposed to be in that vicinity, is a matter that is determined by the IEBC. Our work will be to ensure that where there is violation of what IEBC has described and they alert us to ensure that it's enforced, then we shall be at hand to ensure that that is enforced. And even though we have kept saying this, that 400-meter radius does not exempt the polling center from the general observation of law and order as expected by our laws. And therefore, when there are other violations that are not election related, we'll expect that our security players will be able to take corrective action. And I usually would give an example of as much as that space belongs to IEBC. If there is a person doing physical assault on another, that is not an IEBC matter. That is a police matter, and we shall move in. We expect then Kenyans to give space to the others after you vote, move to 400 meters so that you allow all other Kenyans who are willing to move to the polling center to move in and vote without feeling intimidated or without being blocked from doing so. And after voters are moved to 400 meters away, then we would expect the general observation of law and order to take place. And therefore, we will be able to ensure that all the other Kenyans enjoy their full rights. We will not entertain, and it is good that this is taken seriously, any Kenyans who will assemble, any Kenyans who will behave in a manner that intimidate others, that scare others, that make others feel threatened, and that obstruct other Kenyans from exercising their right to voting. We have also, for the remaining period, of course, seen a lot of formations, especially around politicians, and we have had statements, and it is important for the politicians to understand that the formation of criminal gangs around them is illegal, and we will take appropriate action as soon as we identify them. We also expect that the politicians will appreciate that we are in a high-charged environment 4 days to an election, and therefore we expect very responsible behavior. We expect the statements that come from politicians, statements that make Kenyans feel comfortable, make Kenyans feel safe, and make Kenyans appreciate that an election day on 8th shall come and pass, and then continue on with our normal lives. We have had statements in this country, statements that are inciting, statements that are accusing others of even murder. We have had statements of people being declared dead when they are not dead, so that there is political anxiety. We plead with politicians that this country belongs to all of us, and these statements that have no other meaning other than to create hatred amongst our communities have no place. We shall take appropriate action. We are investigating these statements, and it is good that we all behave responsibly. During the voting day, we will have call centers, both at the Ministry of Interior and also at the police, and all the other agencies that are participating in supporting IEBC to conduct this election. For the police, they have their usual toll-free number of 999, which you are free to call to report any incidents. And for the ministry, we have enlisted a toll-free number that will be manned 24/7 from this weekend, so that you can report any incidents that you think need our attention. This number is 0800-724956. The toll-free number for the Ministry of Interior for Kenyans to report is 0800-724956. We'll make it public. We'll put it on our website. We'll try to circulate it through print media, so that wherever Kenyans will be who feel they have something to report on the election behavior, where they think there is violation, where they think there's something that we need to act on, then can use the toll-free number. I want to thank you. And we will be also ready to take a few questions if you have. I am with the Inspector General of Police, whom I'm sure you all know. I am with the government spokesperson, whom you all know. At the other end is the Deputy Inspector General, responsible for administration police, Mr. Arachi, and the farthest end is Mr. Gadesha, who is the Secretary of Internal Security for the Ministry of Interior. Thank you very much. It's obvious there are no questions. Oh, Wangoi, would you want to manage that for us?
Thank you. I am Rose Kaku from KBC TV. You've mentioned politicians making utterances that are quite divisive, and of course we've seen various politicians who've been even called out by name. And the question is, what actions have been taken against those already known with the evidence arrived on mainstream and social media? That's the question.
Next question, please. I'll take 3 and then you take the next round of questions. Yes, please.
Okay. George Obulutse, Reuters News. Just a quick clarification about the NYS. We know the nature of their training is not necessarily law enforcement. So how will they fit into the whole arrangements? And then of these who have been deployed, how many of them are from the 180,000 that were announced to have been getting training alongside the election officials that was announced in May?
Nairobi kwetu radio, kumekuwa na mashambulizi nchini Malindi na Mandera. Nafanya nini ili kuhakikisha wananchi watajitokeza tarehe 8 kupiga kura?
Shukri Wachu, K24. Just a follow-up question to the IG regarding the early morning attack in Lafi. Probably you can just tell us what exactly happened, and I understand that there were quite a few, 50 to be exact, militants who I hear engaged the police, and probably whether there were casualties on both sides.
Okay.
For management of the stage, I think I'll answer all the questions that relate to me. We take the next round. Hope we'll only take 2. Then answer those. Then I'll move for IG to answer the specific questions that relates to security. And I think the question on what action we are taking on on politicians who are making utterances, they are known. What I also want to assure Kenyans is that unlike probably in the social media, where we can accuse, we can even jail in social media, in the police, we do things according to what the law says. The fact that someone is being accused, alleged to have done something, does not mean take that person to prison. That person must be taken through due process. They must record statements, and I can assure you there is none of the ones who are doing so that we are not pursuing, and we will process them strictly in accordance with the law. And I think we call for patience so that we also allow the investigative bodies to do their work without also looking like we are harassing them. All these that are on record are being investigated, and action will be taken. We must also appreciate we are in a charged political situation, and therefore we do not want to aggravate the matter by being careless in the actions that we take. And I would appeal that we all be accommodating and patient as police do their work. The other one is about NYS. The NYS and the KWS and the Kenya Forest Service are not police officers and cannot enforce the law. But the Inspector General of Police, by law, is allowed to gazette and declare these officers as special police officers for a specific purpose. And in this case, it will be to support the IBC in its conduct of elections. We have mapped the country, and obviously we will deploy accordingly. It is not the entire